Thank you, Paul Aiello from FANUC, an Automate Education Pavilion sponsor, for joining us to talk about the pavilion and automation education in general. As a current and previous sponsor of the Education Pavilion, Paul, what excites you most about it at Automate 2024?
What excites me the most is that we have the opportunity to introduce students to careers that they may not know of. And we always say when we talk to schools that students don't know what they don't know about the exciting and rewarding careers in advanced automation today. So being able to highlight what schools are doing for students and for employers. I think the other biggest issue that we find is that probably the number one concern in the minds of most manufacturing CEOs is their workforce, is how are they going to find the right people with the right skills, with the right talent that they need to grow and sustain their businesses today. So just that awareness at being able to share that at Automate 2024 is really exciting. I think that's one of the most important things that we do.
Absolutely. Could not agree more. And so tell us a little bit more about why it is important for FANUC to be a sponsor at the Education Pavilion this year.
Yeah, FANUC is extremely engaged in education. In fact, we kind of led the way with a very proactive approach to aligning industry and education dating back to 2009 or early 2010, where we sought to kind of change the paradigm of saying we will proactively work with schools to make sure that schools are using the same technology that industry is, so that the skills, the objectives, the outcomes of learning align directly with the industry talent needs of today. So that's what's really key for us. We started that initiative probably almost 14 years ago, a little over 14 years ago. And that has evolved into this really expansive network of schools that we work with around the country, more than 1,500 schools. But it's also brought in all the other OEM companies to engage and to partner with education to make sure that students understand what the technology is and not use equipment that's purported to align to industry that really is more of an educational type equipment, but to put the real industrial robotics in the hands of students. And we were amazed when we started doing that with schools, that students took to this technology so quickly. They're all digital learners, so they've grown up on technology. So it was very easy for them to adapt to it quickly. And it's great to see students that come in and just their eyes get so big when they see what goes on at Automate. And we say, you could do this every day.
Yeah. I mean, it's in some ways, it's almost like gamifying work. These kids grow up playing games on iPads and whatever, and then they're like, oh, I can just continue using this technology in my future career someday. That's pretty interesting. Who should make visiting the Education Pavilion a priority? What specific value or unique opportunities can visitors expect?
Well, I would say that who should visit the Education Pavilion? Every manufacturer that goes through Automate should walk through and see what's going on in academia today. And in addition to that, any student, any teacher that comes through Automate should walk through there to see what other schools are doing and how we are really and truly partnering to make sure that that technology directly aligns with all the manufacturers today.
Yeah, it's pretty cool to see for myself last year for the first time, just to actually see all of the institutions there on that alley, right there with the industry. Let's jump on and talk about why is focusing on automation education so significant for FANUC in today's workforce landscape. You have already touched on this, but if you want to elaborate any more, that would be great.
Yeah, I think that, why we're so passionate about education, specifically in automation, is one, we are the leading automation supplier, both in robotics and CNC. But how things got started was really at the end of 2008, as we were emerging from the recession that we were in. We work with manufacturers that are planning programs that are 3, 4, 5 years out, and we saw that manufacturing was going to rebound. But we also displaced a lot of workers during that recession. So we looked at saying, how do we train for that growth that's coming? And we knew we couldn't do it internally. We knew that as a company, we train about 7,000 to 8,000 individuals every year through the FANUC Academy, but those are customers' employees. What we needed was 10 times that, and it needed to be spread out around the country. So we started working with schools closer to our employers, our customers who are the employers, to make sure that they had local pipeline development of talent. And that's what really kind of spurred this whole initiative on. It really wasn't that FANUC needed 100,000 employees, but the industry needed it. The customers, who are the people that hire everybody, are the ones that need it.
Let's think about those educators now, and the companies for a minute. What advice would you give to them, educators and companies looking to engage with this next generation more effectively in automation and robotics?
I would say from the educator's perspective, there's a lot of programs out there that are being offered to schools now. And in saying that, there's a lot of technology that's available for schools to teach, and then how do they focus in on what is specific, what's best for them and for their students. So part of that is, how do they stay current and relevant? So when we work with schools, we make sure that they are continually teaching on the latest and greatest technology. And that was a hard concept for schools, because it's a state of constant learning and modification of their program to stay relevant versus staying stagnant and offering the same program for 10, 15 years. So for educators, I would just say, listen to your local employers and align your programs to that.
Could you provide an example of a successful initiative at FANUC that has positively affected students' understanding of automation?
Yeah, we have a lot of examples of a lot of positive programs around the country. There's some that are really unique. So we work with a lot of community colleges. Was our initial foray into education. And they serve kind of local area. They're nimble. They can create programs very quickly and adapt. And we ended up with these incredible community college programs that didn't have enough students. So we knew we had to look at the pathway. We knew we had to go into the high schools. And then we also had to look at, what do those students do when they go beyond that? So we had to look at the universities. So we expanded our direction of engagement, going up and down that pathway. What's really unique about that was we started working with high schools around the country. Now I think we have nearly 500 high schools that have our program in. But what's unique about that is 12 states have accepted FANUC robot programming and CNC programming as a foreign language elective. And then we have 14 states that have accepted it as a math elective. So now, instead of taking 4 years of a foreign language, I can take robot programming, which has the syntax and everything else that you would have in a foreign language in there. And we kind of piggyback that thought process off of coding. You can take Python, and that qualifies as a foreign language elective. So it took a lot of work within school districts and with state Department of Education or Board of Regents or whatever they may be, to demonstrate that these things meet the requirements. And what that does is it allows us to get into the mainstream high schools, not just the career and technical high schools. So you could have students that are looking to go into automation or into engineering, but learning about technology in high school. So those programs have taken off. Like, really, we've got a tremendous amount of engagement at that high school level. And for me, as we started this conversation, students don't know what they don't know. And the only way that they're going to find out is through their experiences. One thing I didn't mention that FANUC has really put our money where our mouth is. Over the last 14 years, we've invested more than $75 million into the educational system in the U.S. Every single school that we work with, we provide what we call the FANUC Education Grant. So school buys the training cell, which is at cost, and it's all the latest and greatest technology, all most advanced software that they're receiving. Then in turn, we provide them with all the instructor training and certification. We provide all the e-learning curriculum, the curriculum for the courseware, and then all the simulation software so that they can instantly stand up a robotics training program. And we do the same thing on the CNC side as well.
That's really awesome. And clearly you guys are such leaders in this, in the industry and, just all around. So thank you for that. I want to tie us into this now, if we can. How crucial is collaboration between educational institutions, associations like us, A3, and industry leaders like yourself in shaping this education change?
I think it's extremely critical that there is involvement from all the stakeholders that are there. We certainly, as an OEM, we look at ourselves as a technology provider. We look at A3 as really the governing body for the automation industry, and they establish standards for safety, establish standards for the robotics industry, and having their involvement and engagement to say, these are the programs that have met our standards that schools should be teaching on, because this is the industry and what the industry is doing and expanding and what's going on throughout the industry. So educational institutions have a role of being engaged and willing to adapt these programs and understand that these programs are advancing quickly. So I think it's important that all the stakeholders work together.
The more you think about it, it's so clear. It's essential for all of these players to work together. You really cannot have success in this without that. So we're glad to be a part of it with you. Aside from the pavilion, what do you love about Automate, and what are you looking forward to doing or seeing this year in 2024?
Well, Automate itself is just an amazing event, and you see all kinds of new technology. I'm always amazed. There's always something that strikes me as new and exciting and interesting at Automate. It's exciting to see new technology. I know we'll be introducing some incredible technology, how applications are developed and deployed, and how we process everything is it's exciting to see. So overall, love the event.
You can see FANUC and so many more amazing companies at the Education Pavilion at Automate 2024. Register for free today.